Joining us now, the chair and vice chair of the House Intelligence Committee, Republican Congressman Mike Turner and Democratic Congressman Jim Himes. First of all, it's wonderful to see a bipartisan interview. It doesn't always happen, but your committee is unusual, and we are grateful for that. Mr. Chairman, can you tell us what you've learned that you can disclose about the situation in the north, where there's now an alert from the IDF, and also, concerns that the Hezbollah could open a second front from Lebanon?
Sure. Well, Andrea, you're absolutely correct on the aspect of bipartisanship. Not only do we work together, Jim and I, on a bipartisan basis, there's overwhelming bipartisan support for Israel in Congress, and that was certainly evident today as we had the classified briefing, members voicing their support for Israel. The concern that everyone has, obviously, is to what extent was Iran directly involved? But the thing that we should never lose perspective of is Hamas is a franchise of Iran, and so they fund them, they provide them rockets, they provide them munitions, they train them. So the question really is perfunctory as to whether or not they directly were participating. We know that they are an arm of Iran, and so clearly this does reflect on Iran's involvement and its effect against Israel.
The president confirmed, Congressman Himes, that there are American citizens among the hostages. What do we know about how many? That 20 Americans were reportedly missing. Do you know how many are actually being held, or could this be more people, tragically have already been killed?
Yeah, of course, that's first and foremost on an awful lot of people's minds. Look, there's multiple objectives right now. Number one is in the very near term, and aid has begun to arrive already, to make sure that we are doing all we can to support the Israelis in defending themselves against this atrocious attack. Right behind that, of course, is making sure that we know where, how many, and how we might ultimately free the American hostages who are undoubtedly inside Gaza right now. We don't have a great number, but that number is likely to be dozen, 2 dozen, maybe more. We heard in the briefing today that not only are people thinking about it, but assets are being moved into place to do the very, very hard work of both developing contingencies to free those hostages, or, there are obviously allies of ours, or at least friends of ours, like the Turks, like the Qataris, who maintain an open dialogue with with Hamas that we will presumably be using to make it very clear that we expect those hostages not to be harmed.
Have you heard, Chairman Turner, any progress at all on that front? Any communications from Qatar, from Egypt, to try to pressure Hamas to release the Americans and the Israelis?
Well, the discussions are ongoing, and I certainly, my hope is with the administration being successful. But this is a very dire situation. I mean, Hamas knew exactly what it was doing. This was well planned out. These are not unintended consequences. These are intended consequences. So as we're seeing the brutality and the murderousness and the atrocities of what's occurred here, I think that too reflects both what Hamas's intention is, their hatred from the Israeli people, but also how we as the United States need to have the resolve of supporting Israel against this clear evil.
And Mr. Chairman, do you think there's any real prospect for a rescue operation in that context, where we see the tanks now massing at the Gaza border and a ground invasion seems imminent?
It's certainly a complicated environment, but I know, our military is working very, very closely with the Israelis at this point on trying to assess, what is known and where these individuals might be held. But it's certainly going to be a difficult environment going forward.
Have you heard anything more about this alert from the IDF about what's happening in Hezbollah, or from Hezbollah in the north, Congressman Himes?
Well, obviously, as the chairman alluded, eyes are on Iran right now. Hezbollah is a client state of the Iranian regime. As people know, we have moved significant naval assets into the region, air assets, to send the signal that this is not a conflict that anybody should consider widening. And it's not just the Iranians and Hezbollah, but whether it's Syrians or elements in the West Bank. the administration and all of us, frankly, are working very, very hard right now to make sure that we've seen the worst of this and that it doesn't get expanded into a conflict in the north, or that this is a moment taken advantage of by other bad actors in the region because they believe that Israel is vulnerable. Our presence there, the movement of the USS Ford into the region, everything that we're doing to make sure that the assets are there is designed to make sure that other bad actors don't seek to take advantage of this moment.
Let me ask each of you, Chairman Turner, would, if that were to happen, if there were a major assault from the north, would the F-35s from the Gerald Ford take off? Would we get involved from the air?
Well, we already have a pledge and agreement with Israel, and it's known in the region of our intent to support Israel if they should come under significant attack. And certainly I think everyone in the region needs to take that into consideration. And I think hopefully that will have a de-escalating effect on the region.
Congressman Hines, would there be a congressional opposition?
No, I don't think so. Look, I'm very happy to say that, as the chairman said, the feeling in the room this morning, where we had most of the House of Representatives, was unanimous around support for Israel, about being appalled by the brutal loss of life that Hamas visited upon the Israeli people, and obviously some concern. The Israelis have the right of self-defense. They are going to rightly make sure that they don't face this threat from Hamas ever again. As the chairman pointed out, in Gaza, you've got 2 million people in very, very close quarters. That is going to be an excruciatingly difficult operation. And just as we decry the loss of innocent Israeli life, we hope that there is no or minimal loss of Palestinian life. People sometimes forget in these moments that the Palestinians are also victims of this murderous terrorist group, Hamas. And so, again, all of our efforts are designed right now to secure the state of Israel and to hope that we have really seen the worst of this conflict.
And very briefly, I know you have to go vote, Chairman Turner. You were a part of the Republican conference meeting today. Apparently, they tabled a motion and are proceeding towards a simple majority. Does that help Steve Scalise? Where do you see this? Are we any closer to having a speaker?
I don't really think it helps either candidate, either Jim Jordan or Steve Scalise. I think the real issue is trying to get the work of the Republican caucus done while we're all sitting together behind closed doors before we're once again down on the House floor. Efforts are underway to accomplish that, and I certainly hope we're successful today.
And you're backing
Jim Jordan, my fellow Ohioan. We got our fingers crossed for Jim today. He's fighting hard, and of course he's got the endorsement of Trump.